Inside Malacanang is brought to you by the KFC Streetwise Bucket Meal. $3.99 lang. So good. Vaseline Men Moisturizer reduces dark spots in 2 weeks. Now available in a no mess sachet for only 25 pesos. And
in Tokyo, Tokyo, say Shogun Baga. It's Baga, only better.
The morning begins as it does in most ordinary homes. Breakfast is served. Clothes are neatly pressed. The car is meticulously checked and ready. The grounds are swept clean and the gardens tended. Only this is no ordinary household. For the past 250 years, this has been the home of the most politically powerful man in the Philippines. And it is, understandably, now the most tightly guarded compound in the country.
This is the symbol of we're a country that is developing. This is both an opportunity and, I guess, the emphasis on the burdens of anybody who sits here.
For the next hour, we will be taking you on a tour of this storied presidential palace. Getting a glimpse of its turbulent past. Getting to know the people who are responsible for the safety of a president. This is Inside Malacanang. This is where decisions on the welfare of more than 90 million Filipinos are made. It has welcomed world leaders, kings and queens of nations. It is the official residence and principal workplace of the President of the Philippines. Situated on the north bank of the Pasig River, Malacanang is composed of several historic buildings, including the main palace, which houses the living quarters of the President and the First Family. Bonifacio Hall, which served as the offices of former President Corazon Aquino and residence of former President Joseph Estrada. Kalayaan Hall, the oldest part of the palace, combines the histories of the American, Commonwealth, and Second and Third Republics. Mabini Hall, which now serves as the administrative building. And the new executive building built by former President Corazon Aquino. Manuel Manolo Quezon III is the grandson of former President Manuel Quezon. Prior to his appointment as President Benigno Simeon Aquino III's communications official, Quezon led the palace restoration during the term of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo.
The Rizal Ceremonial Hall is the room where the great ceremonies of state take place. You'll see that it is where the President holds oath takings. This is where important legislation is signed. It's what used to be the balcony of Malacanang Palace before it was rebuilt in 1978. Its features are quite unique. There are the chandeliers carved in Betis, Pampanga. That's three domed ceilings that are gilded. It's also where presidents return to Malacanang for the last time because it's where the lying in state of presidents take place.
On the right side of the reception hall leading to the Rizal Ceremonial Hall is where you can find the Aguinaldo State Dining Room.
When President Aguinaldo was captured by American forces in 1901, this is where he was held as a prisoner by the Americans for a few months until his release.
This is the music room, private meetings with important guests of the president are usually held here. It has no windows. The walls and ceilings exceed normal specifications for thickness and load-bearing ability. A room where the president can feel truly safe. But for obvious security reasons, other details about this chamber may not be revealed.
Behind it is a conference room that used to serve as First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos's private office. And over the years, it has been, the books in turn were taken out from that during the time of President Estrada, and it was turned into a conference and dining room. And it's now known as the Ramos Room because President Ramos also used to like holding meetings and holding office there. Definitely one of the considerations for rebuilding Malacañang in 1978 was to make it a structurally sound and secure building. This means that the walls and the ceilings definitely have taken security considerations into account, and therefore there would be areas that have walls that would exceed your normal specifications for thickness and load-bearing ability compared to normal residences.
President Noynoy Aquino's favorite room is the basement.
The basement had Mrs. Imelda Marcos's extensive collections of shoes, clothes, perfume, etc. We were there during the '89 coup when the so-called Toro planes were strafing and rocketing Malacañang.
More than the president's working office, Malacañang is also the official residence of the president and that of the First Family. We take you behind the scenes for an exclusive look at the private living quarters of the most influential family in the country.
It is the official residence of presidents, and in the past, the families of the presidents would live in the quarters that were assigned to them within the south wing, and north wing of Malacañang Palace. What's now known as the President's Room is the enlargement of the private dining area for the presidential families. And as each administration comes and goes, they find different rooms and different assignments for these rooms. Generally today, this is where the president would have more informal dinners with important visitors and some private conferences. The last time that you would have seen people having access to the former private apartments and the family area of Malacañang Palace would have been during the time of the president's mother, during President Cory Aquino's government, when of course the entire palace practically was turned into a museum that was open to the public. Beyond that, after the Ramos administration onwards, these again reverted to their old use and became much more private spaces that were limited in terms of the access given to the media and the public.
But if the president were to be asked, he would rather live in the Aquino home in nearby Quezon City.
If you look at it, it's very ornate. It tends to be quite dark, and it's too big. I guess it just emphasizes the loneliness at the top. But given the choice, I'd rather be back in our house in Quezon City.
But how did the seat of power end up in this riverside vacation house? Malacañang is in fact older than the Republic itself. In the late 1700s, it was a leisure villa of a Spanish gentleman named Luis Rocha. It was later purchased by the state to become the temporary residences of the Governors General. When the official residence of the Governor-General was destroyed by an earthquake, Malacañang was chosen to take its place.
If you were to ask the Spaniards themselves, they would have said that it came from the word mamalakayak, which means fisherman, because in the vicinity of the palace today is when fishermen coming down from Laguna de Bay and other areas would lay out their catch.
When the Americans took over the country in 1899, General Arthur MacArthur turned the palace into a military camp, using an iron hand to fiercely combat resistance. It wasn't until William Howard Taft's turn as American Governor-General that Malacañang's image changed. In 1935, Manuel Quezon became the first president to have Malacañang as his official residence. When the Second World War broke out, the Japanese turned Malacañang into a gilded prison for their occupation government. In the 1950s, President Magsaysay opened Malacañang to the people. It has become a symbolic seat of power. Even in the direst time of war, the undisputed belief was that no one rules the Philippines until he does it from Malacañang. Since 1935, 14 presidents have worked in the palace. Among them, former President Corazon Aquino and her only son, Benigno Simeon Aquino III, more popularly known as Noynoy.
Associate Justice Conchita
With a promise of stamping out corruption, Noynoy would win the presidential elections in 2010 with one of the biggest margins under the present constitution.
Hindi ko inakala na darating tayo sa puntong ito na ako'y manunumpa sa harap ninyo bilang inyong Pangulo.
It is a big challenge. President Noynoy carries with him not only the legacy of his parents, but also the dreams of most Filipinos of a better life.
Panahon na upang tayo ay muling magkawanggawa. The people who are behind us dared to dream. Today, the dream starts to become a reality.
To sign any amnesty or pardon because I feel that
His father, former Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr., was the most vocal among President Ferdinand Marcos's critics. Upon returning to Manila from 3 years of exile in the U.S., the senator knew it was dangerous to come home.
I'm ready to be shot.
Upon arrival at the Manila International Airport, assassins knew he was wearing a bulletproof vest. He was shot in the head. Noynoy's mother, President Cory Aquino, took over the reins of the government when people power overthrew decades of dictatorship.
Alam ko na minamahal ninyo ako.
She opened the formerly inaccessible Malacañang Palace to the public. Malacañang has been the Spanish Empire's palace, MacArthur's military camp, the Japanese showcase for occupation. Now it has finally become the Filipino people's symbol of freedom.
It's just really a question of doing that which is right. And so long as the people are behind us, we can really force everybody to stop the age-old practices that have not benefited their people. We will be the ones to really try and rectify the situation, revitalize all of the institutions, and make this democracy really a working democracy.
Next, how do you protect a president from threats within and without the palace?